Hello and welcome to another AIC video. So today I have another laptop for review. A couple weeks ago I opened this up and showed you the internals of it, but now I'm going to do just an overview review of this laptop. I've had about a month or so to take a look at it, use it, play with it, work on it, and typically when I get one of these laptops for review, whether I buy it myself or I received it from Lenovo, like this one. Lenovo sent me this laptop to review. At the end of the review, while I typically enjoyed the laptop, I'm not sad to be sending it back or sell it or whatever might be the case of the what I'm doing with that laptop. But in this case, I'm going to be kind of sad to send this laptop back. I've really enjoyed this laptop. There's a lot to like about it, and I think Lenovo has really done a good job with the laptop. Now again, this is the Lenovo Thinkbook 14S-IWL for the model number on there, and my particular one has a 4-core 8-thread Core i5 processor, has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. That is an NVMe SSD. And in the video I showed earlier, you can upgrade both the memory and that SSD, which is really nice on this laptop. Some of the things that are really good about this laptop that I really like is it does have dedicated video. Now it's an older card and it is just have 2 gigs of video memory, but that's not shared memory, it's its own dedicated video memory, GDDR5 on that. It definitely is better than onboard graphics. Sometimes with these laptops they use an older graphics card or a very weak graphics card that isn't much better than the onboard graphics. In this case, that is not the situation. This is pretty decent graphics. It is not what I consider a gaming graphics card per se. You definitely can play games on it, but it definitely lightens the workload. If you're doing video editing or picture editing, things like that, that graphics card will definitely make a big difference in your workload. And again, of course, you can play games on it. Newer games, you definitely can play at like a medium or a low setting. Older games, play at high settings all day long. The screen on this is excellent. It's a nice 1080p IPS display, and it gives you really good viewing angles. It's really nice. It's fairly bright, and definitely is better than the screen on my 25th anniversary ThinkPad. And that a lot of things about this are definitely a step up, I think, from Lenovo's older ThinkPad lines as far as just the features you get on it. Now, I said in my previous video, this is what I consider a prosumer laptop. So it's not quite a professional grade laptop. It doesn't have that magnesium chassis. While it does have some metal bits like the lid and the bottom of the case are metal, the keyboard area is just plastic. It doesn't have as good of keyboard on there, but it's definitely a big step up from what I would consider a consumer grade laptop in both build quality, materials, and just the overall aesthetic of the machine. Other things I really like about it, it's not a huge fingerprint magnet, so you can use the laptop, touch it, handle it, and it doesn't look dirty. Some of the laptops I get, I use, and after a very short amount of time, the laptop itself looks kind of gross and dingy and dirty just from simply touching the machine and having fingerprints and things like that on there. The keyboard is pretty good. It's definitely what I consider part of their IdeaPad keyboard line. It's got the funky arrow keys, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the overall feel of the keyboard is pretty good because it's a Lenovo, and Lenovo does great keyboards on their laptops. Even their cheap $150 IdeaPads still have a keyboard that's a step above. Some of the other great features about this, it has a great touchpad. Normally I don't like these touchpads that have no physical buttons, but this one's really good. It's very responsive. It has a nice tactile feel to it, a nice click to it. I was hoping you could hear that. Very responsive. I don't get any weird effects with it like I do with some of these touchpads. You get a fingerprint sensor in the power button, which is a great location for it because you're not taking up any extra space on the keyboard. You just touch the power button for your fingerprint sensor. It does not have Windows Hello, however, and that's not available on any of the models that I can see of this generation. Hopefully they bring that out with the next model, because that's something I do very much use on my laptops, is the Windows Hello. You open up the screen, it recognizes your face, and you can log in without having to use a passcode or your fingerprint. It just speeds up that process. Other things I like about it, it is upgradable. I like the overall design of it. There are some misses though. The first being, I appreciate it using the Lenovo's ThinkPad style of charger, mostly because I have a lot of those. However, the USB Type-C on here is not Thunderbolt, so you cannot charge the laptop through that USB-C port. I did try my USB-C charger, did not charge the laptop. I would like to see that. Some of the other laptops that have a dedicated power port on them that also have USB-C, you can charge from the USB-C. The nice thing about that is then you only have to have one charger and you can use it for different laptops. And so if you travel with more than one laptop, or if you have different laptops you have to use, like I have a work laptop and a personal laptop that I often swap between, I can use the same charger for both, being that it's USB Type-C. This one unfortunately does not give that to you. It does have two USB Type-A ports. I do wish it had a third, but the one, it does charge devices off the battery when the laptop was powered off. That's becoming more common of a feature, but it is something that Lenovo's been doing for a long time that I do appreciate. I have some notes here. I mentioned earlier the audio is pretty good on this. It is Harman speakers. I'm a big fan of older Harman Kardon speakers. I've had those on my laptop, on my desktops for years. These are obviously just laptop speakers, but for laptop speakers they are pretty good. They're loud. You can turn them up pretty high and still get fairly good quality sound out of the laptop. That's something on the ThinkPad line that Lenovo for years did not do a very good job of, is having good audio on the laptop. So that's definitely something that they've stepped up here. Oh, it is also missing an SD card reader. There isn't one on this laptop. It's also missing WAN. If you travel and want wireless internet through the cellular service, that is not available on any model that I could find. And it does not have an Ethernet port. And to me, I need an Ethernet port on my laptops, but that is me personally and my use case. Not everybody needs that, and most people have just need a Wi-Fi. But most importantly, this laptop is an excellent value for the money. It is right now just over $700 on Lenovo's website. For this particular model, they have a $650 model. I would skip that and move to this one. The price difference between the two of the 8 gig versus 4 gig memory and the 120 gig versus the 256 gig NVMe drive makes up the difference of price between the two models pretty quickly. The next step up is like a $900 laptop, and you can, it has the same CPU and GPU. They all have the same GPU. The $900 one has the same CPU, and you can upgrade the memory and the storage to that models for significantly less money. So this is the one I personally would go with. They do have a Core i7 processor, but unless you're doing really heavy processing tasks, I would go ahead and skip that one. The CPU in the Core i5, this 8th gen Core i5, is an excellent CPU for gaming, for just general purpose tasks. So if you really need to step up to that Core i7 processor, I might actually suggest you look more at a workstation type laptop, because that's a big step up and you're going to want a little bit better cooling and things like that for that beefier processor. But this particular model I think is an excellent value for the money if you are looking for a thin, light, attractive looking notebook that is that kind of bridge between better than a consumer grade laptop but not as expensive as a professional grade laptop. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section down below. I do appreciate your questions, and I hope you have an amazing day.